Hello, racing fans, and welcome back to the channel for another episode in our Stable Tour series. And I am once again delighted for another season to be joined by Ben Paulin. Ben, how's things? How's everything up at Norton?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Joe. We couldn't be happier. The horses seem in great form. It's that time of year where we're just sort of really starting to ramp it up. We're not doing anything too dramatic, but I suppose they'll start some easy pieces of work in the next week or so, and then we'll start picking it up, hopefully to be ready back end of October, early November.
Is that when you want to effectively start your season at the end of October? That's when we'll start seeing some of the runners sort of make the racetrack.
Yeah, it's been a funny old period with the last few years with the weather. And I think it was 2 years ago I had them all ready to rock and roll in October, and it was really quick ground. And then last year I thought we'd back off them and have them ready a little bit later. And of course, it rained a lot and it was properly soft. It was lovely ground in October, and then as soon as it got to November, it was heavy everywhere. So we've sort of, it's hard to plan really, but we're aiming for most of them to be there or nearly there, ready for their first runs, sort of middle end of October, and hope that the weather plays ball really.
And it's great to see again, Ben, that you've got a fantastic team to go to battle with. But you're a growing yard at Naunton. The stable staff must be such a pivotal point in making sure obviously the operation firstly runs smoothly, and make sure, of course, that all of the horses are getting their general day-to-day care and obviously all of their needs looked after. It must be so important for a yard like yourself at Naunton.
Yeah, no, massively. The staff are everything, to be honest.
Mm, mm.
Without the staff, you're absolutely hopeless. And we've got an incredibly um, good bunch of staff. We try to make it an enjoyable place to work, and they seem to enjoy that. And of course, there's the good days and the bad days, but overall, they're a great bunch, and their dedication and commitment to making sure the horses are absolutely spot on is second to none. And we're very, very grateful to have such a brilliant team here.
Such a beautiful part in the world to be training as well, Ben Norton. Obviously, I'm familiar being from Cheltenham myself. Well, Ben, let's jump straight onto the string of horses for the season. And look, there's only one place to start, really. It's the Jukebox Man, of course, a lovely 7-year-old, winner of 5 of his 9 races, but that includes 2 out of 2 over fences, of course, by winning the Grade One Cato Star at Christmas. Ben, he picked up an injury for you at quite a crucial point in the season last year, but you've been patient with him. How has he come back from the summer? Is he happy, well, live and kicking?
Yeah, no, he couldn't be better. Um, he looks very well in himself. He's moving particularly well. And he's a little bit further behind the others just because we've probably taken those first month, 6 weeks of cantering at a slower rate than some of them. But we're not too far behind the curve, and he'll be looking to come out middle of November, either in the Paddy Power, which I didn't think he was actually qualified for, but the rules and regulations are a little bit confusing. If you're a novice, you have to have run 3 times, but once you're then not a novice, you can run on after your first or second
Okay.
start. So um, that is an option for him. He's also, I think, a good fit for the 1965 chase at Ascot.
Oh, yes, excellent. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that would be another option. But we will see. I think the 1965 would be probably a smaller field, but probably um, tough, stiffer competition. And obviously the Paddy Power would be a bigger field, but I would like to think he's very well handicapped. So exciting time to have him back. Just hope we can keep him on the straight and narrow. We got no reason to believe we won't. With an exciting season ahead.
I know as we just mentioned, the injury was unfortunate. It might be a half blessing in disguise, Ben, that it happened over Christmas because it's given you the time to sort of freshen him up and have a real good crack at this season. If we take a step forward, though, do you see him as more of a Ryanair horse or more of a Gold Cup horse? You've always been quite vocal about the fact that he's got plenty of speed as well as that sort of staying pedigree too.
Yeah, I mean, All I know is that if we get a clear run at it, the King George is our first main target, and I think that'll tell us an awful lot. You
Okay.
know, he
Hmm.
he was very good in the Quarto Star last year. Um, I think he can be a fair bit better than that as well. It wasn't the perfect preparation, um, but he's got a lot of speed, especially over fences. You know, the difference between a horse. Some horses get faster over fences and some get slower, and he's definitely got faster because his jumping is exceptional. So I won't rule anything in or out. And if we can
Hmm.
keep a clean
Hmm.
bill of health, it'll just be very exciting to have a horse of that caliber. And let's be honest, he's a novice going into open company. He's got to prove himself at that level. So we will see how the early part of the season goes, but he looks in great form. We think he's got an awful lot of ability. Um, you know, it'll be very much a case of getting the season underway, hopefully aiming for the King George and taking a view out the backside. But I dare say that if he retains the sort of uh, speed and accuracy over his fences that he was showing last year, it might be the case that you look towards the shorter trip at Cheltenham this year rather than the longer one. He's always got time to go up in trip if he stays healthy and well.
He looks like quite a smart horse, Ben, as well, because his jumping's so good. It's like he knows his job, doesn't he? You've mentioned obviously potentially a slight lack of experience as a novice, but at least he has that grade one that could stand him in good stead. And again, he does seem to have a good mind on him. If he needs to shorten it to pop himself over a fence, he'll do it. If he sees a stride, he'll wing it. Is he very much the same at home? Just seems to be
Yeah, I
bouncing when he
mean
hits a racetrack.
he's an ultimate professional at home. You know, he does what he has to do and no
Mm.
more. You wouldn't necessarily think he was the horse he is to watch him work at home. He's a decent workhorse, but he's no superstar on the gallops. But when he seems to get to the track, he is electric. And I mean, he was rather exuberant and full of himself at Newbury, but in the same, breath at Kempton, he couldn't have been any more accurate and efficient. So I think that would be my only concern is the fact we've only had two runs over fences. You know, he needs to learn fast, and I think he can.
Perfect. Great. Well, best of luck with him, Ben. I know he's a real fan favorite and you're flying the flag for us on this side of the water anyway. Ben, you have another lovely 6-year-old chaser called Handstands with an official rating of 157. Oh, Ben, he's fantastic to look at, isn't he? How's he sort of come back physically?
Yeah, he looks insane. I'm a massive fan of this horse. People can pick holes in his form in the spring. You know, we've been to Aintree and Cheltenham twice or once each, and it hasn't worked. But I know full well he was over the top in the first year, and then last year, and my horses just weren't. I'm disappointed to say running their best by the time we got to Aintree. I think we were badly affected by the dust that was generated on the
Mm.
gallop in that very, very dry period. We didn't have any rain really from February, and I think it just got to them slightly. We've since bought an irrigation system in to make sure that can't happen again. But he is he is a very, very good horse. You know, he was plenty busy enough last season. Obviously, he tipped up in the Future Stars, but went on to win the Grade 2 3 mile at Sandown, and then the rerouted Towton at Fosslas. But the performance of his season, without doubt, is was again in the Silly Isles against Django By, and it was soft ground that day. And people will say he's a soft ground specialist. He obviously does handle proper soft ground, so there's no issue there. Um, but if you look at Django By now, that was his trip. You know, he won an Arkle, but he won an Arkle because he flew home and he wanted every yard of it. I would dare say that Django By will be sticking at 2.5. Maybe he might be another King George type, but I think that was a proper ding dong of a battle. I think it was a proper race. Django Boy had every chance to get by us and he couldn't. And I think that'll stand up for a long time, that form. I think they're both exceptionally good horses. And I think that sort of puts a line in the sand of where Handstands is. Um, I think he's very, very good indeed. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we get on with him.
You also mentioned there, obviously the race might turn out good because they even had Caliph de Burley a little bit further back. Of course, he's now a graded winner too. But I like what you're saying there with handstands because it feels like there could be more to come from him as he goes up and trip a little bit further. Do you potentially have Gold Cup aspirations with him? Is he this because he looks every inch a chaser going forward?
Hmm. No, I do. I'd
Fantastic.
be really hopeful that we could see him line up in a Gold Cup. Obviously, a lot needs to go right between now and then. There's no point lining up as a no-hoper. So he's got a bit to prove, but he'll start in the Colin Parker up at Carlisle, and then he's got an option of either trying to lump a hefty weight in the Coral Gold Cup, or whether or not he goes to the Betfair Chase. I know his owners are keen to potentially have a look at a Betfair. I'm of the opinion that he's only a second season novice, and that sometimes can be a bit of a grueling race. Grey Dawning went out on his sword last year and had to have a bit
Mm.
of a um, season of putting him back together. Um, and I always think there's a time and a place. The other view is that probably on paper is his best chance of a grade one this year. So why wouldn't you target it? So the jury's out on that, but definitely start off in the Colin Parker and make a plan from there. I don't think on any sort of normal Kempton ground. I don't think he's a King George horse. I think horses like Ile Francais and other, proper speed machines early doors would probably take him out of his comfort zone early doors. And you can see that quite regularly at Kempton. Sometimes horses just out of their comfort zone early. It happens every year, and I don't think I want to put him in that position. But if it came up a heavy ground King George, then I wouldn't be afraid to put him in there as well. And then you've got prep races like the Cotswold Chase, and things like that. If he's good enough to go to Cheltenham, my biggest regret last year was, and you should never look back, but when the Jukebox Man got injured, myself and Tim Radford decided we wouldn't reshuffle the pack and go to Cheltenham for the Brown Advisory with handstands, and it's all easy in hindsight, but we should have done it. At the time he was in incredible form, and the horses were running well, and it just frustrates me that actually ended up being. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some nice horses in there, but Ballyburn didn't turn up, and it was won by an outsider in Lecky Watson, and I just can't help feel that he would have quite enjoyed that race. So we'll be positive about going forward and look forward to the future.
Perfect. I suppose again, he's a horse you wouldn't want to sort of do too much of too early and like him to prime for something like Cheltenham. Just sorry to just touch on the Betfair Chase again because he's a soft ground specialist. Would you hope that he could run there and perhaps it wouldn't take too much out of him on the basis it's conditions that he'd enjoy more than most?
Yes, I do. I do think you're right there, but I also it's a proper slog. No matter what happens
Okay.
in the race,
Okay.
they go 2 mile pace from flag drop. It's a flat track. There's no let up, and regardless of whether it suits your horse or not, it would be lovely to think he's going to canter around in second gear, but realistically, that's pie in the sky. It's going to be whatever the conditions. They're going to have to
Mm.
really dig deep, and if it came up, soft, and it looked like a winnable race, we'd be probably very tempted because the other option, of course, is the Hennessy, sorry, the Coral Gold Cup or Coral Trophy, and that he'd probably be carrying top weight or very nearly top weight. and it would be a proper weight carrying performance. But he's a big horse, so we'll see. We'll see. Lots of options, but I can't really pin the tail to the donkey quite yet.
That's fair enough. Healthy problems to have though, Ben, as well, especially with those two nice staying chasers. But move
Yeah.
on, Ben, to a lovely mare that you have called Diva Luna. Ben, I know you've always thought the world of this mare. Plenty speedy, plenty scopy. You must be quite excited about the potential of sending her over fences. She looks just like the sort that will thrive over the larger obstacles. How is she for start?
She's again in great form. She had a muddling season last season. She wasn't healthy early doors, and then we got her back. Ran a lovely race against Metcalfe at Lingfield. It was a bit of a muddling race pace wise, but I was perfectly happy with the result. Delighted to see her get ahead in front at Cheltenham. I made a mistake in running at Sandown on bottomless ground, so I wasn't happy with that. But we sort of put her back together and got her to Cheltenham, and she ran a mighty race. But I still don't think we've seen anywhere near what Diva should have been doing last year. And as you say, we'll be going chasing this year. There's a great mares program, and I wasn't afraid to take on the boys last year at the start of the year because I knew how good she was. I was a little bit more cautious in my approach by the time we came to Cheltenham because she hadn't been the horse I wanted her to be. Um, and I'm pleased to say she is looking like she's back to her best. And if she is, we can hopefully pick the right races at the right time. But yeah, she's classy. She's got loads of scope. She's a phenomenal jumper, and I think she'll make a proper chaser. And my job to get her back on the straight and narrow. I mean, it was a hardly a disastrous season, but it was nowhere near what we expected.
What's ground? What are her ideal sort of ground conditions? Do you think, Ben? Just a nice bit of good to soft.
Yeah, good soft.
Okay,
I mean, I
quicker
don't think
ground
I'd
an issue
avoid.
for her.
No, I don't think I don't think she's got sticky holding ground. I don't think she'd mind
Okay.
wet ground. I yeah, I don't think the ground just exaggerated her issues that she was having last year. She was being a bit keen and she wasn't quite right in her track washes. And when you've got ground that's pulling the backside out of
Mm.
you, that just is another factor to sort of not being the right thing for her at the time. Her bumpy she didn't used to pick up the bridle. And last
Okay.
year she was,
All the
try and
time.
drop her in second or third. She'd freewheel to the front, and when she was in front, she'd be all right. Like she wasn't exactly bolting with anyone, but she was just on it the whole way. And we need to remind her that it's okay to relax and settle away.
Excellent. Good jumper, Ben, as well. She jumped well at home.
Exceptional, yeah.
Excellent. That's all I need to hear. Then we're going to move on to one of my favourite horses in your yard, actually. We spoke about him last year. It's a horse called Meet Me by the Sea, 5-year-old for JP. Um, I mean, God, what a lovely novice hurdler he was for you last season. But he's another, I can't help but think there must be more to come from him as well. I know he was third in that grade three at Sandown at the end of the season. But I feel like last year you were just doing bits with him to give him experience. And he was good enough still to win races. But this year, is he one you'd like to consider sending novice chasing?
Yeah, he'll go chasing.
Excellent,
He
excellent.
he's a great big backward horse. I say backward. He's relaxed and laid back, and you don't think he's got the speed he has. Um, we ran him over 2 miles just to see where we were with him around proper tight tracks, and rode him very conservatively to sort of just learn. And the speed he showed at the back end of some of those races to repel a few challenges was quite astonishing, really. So we'll start him back over two. It was unfortunate that the whole season was aimed around the EBF final,
Hmm.
and he scoped dirty after that race. We knew something must have been up because I couldn't see any way of him not winning that. Um,
Well,
so he came up with a mucky track wash, and we decided there and then that'll do for the season. But we'll start him off over 2 miles, over fences, and sort of feel our way through the season, really. And he'll talk to us about as and when he needs to go up. We won't have any massively lofty targets early season. It'll be very much a case of sort of allowing him to tell us when he's ready.
Perfect. Okay, well, he's one definitely for the tracker then, and just keep your eye on him because, like Ben said, he won't be out until he is ready. But Ben, you've got a lovely new JP recruit, and again, just from the outside point of view, in my view, this is because you've done such a good job with Meet Me by the Sea that you now have Mojito de Mott as well from JP McManus, a lovely Clover du Burley, Gowden, who generally offer plenty of sort of size and strong physicality traits. How has he sort of settled into the routine up at the yard since joining?
Yeah, nice horse. He came to us back end of last season just for a month to acclimatise. He's actually not the biggest. He's sort of proper juvenile
Interesting.
size. He's done really well for his summer off. He's back doing three canters. Obviously, he's already won his juveniles, so he's still a juvenile this year, but under a penalty. Um, but he's a lovely horse in what he does. He's very straightforward. Again, not a sort of wow horse at home. Just sort of does what he needs to do, but appears to have a great attitude. And I think we'll again, you know, see how he fares in some juvenile hurdles, probably around November time. I don't think it'd be in a rush to run him early in October or even the beginning of November because he has had that one run. So, it's almost like getting him out in the next 3 weeks, getting the run under his belt, and then finding a second option for him. So we'll probably just look for a run of the mill juvenile with a penalty and then take a view from there. It's as you say, it's wonderful to be able to train for Mr. McManus and his team. They're incredibly patient, and with with that approach, you're able to very much target the horses at just some low key races and see where you find yourselves. There's always time in these seasons for the more exciting and sexy races later on if they're good enough. But we'll just keep our feet on the ground and hopefully he can convert his French form to England.
Of it, it's interesting with the juvenile program over here because there's obviously you start with a one penalty. If you win again, you've got a double penalty. With that, again, you told me there's no sort of plan for him yet, but if he goes out and wins his opening hurdle for you, and then he is hit with a penalty, would you consider races like the Adonis and things like that, for example, for him?
I don't honestly know how speedy he is yet.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
that's a proper speed test, the Adonis. You've got all sorts of, triumph hurdle trials and all that sort of thing. But I just don't know, where we are with him yet. I haven't really
fine.
pressed any buttons. I floated him about last season and he's still a bit fat and round at the moment to be doing anything too serious. So, I need to sort of get a handle on the horse. I'd like to think he's well up to winning a juvenile under a penalty. I think the race he won in Moulin in France was actually quite a decent race. Um, for the track throws up a few
Yes.
nice horses, but it's not exactly Auteuil. But I do believe there was some nice horses in behind him, and I just like with any of these horses, when you get sent them, he's obviously a nice horse to have in the yard. You just want to hope they progress and run as well here as they did in France.
Excellent. Best of luck with him for the season, Ben. Not too many more to go, but another that you had sort of as a juvenile, Mambo number 5 for Malblood stock. Again, we spoke about him last year, Ben, and I know he pulled up on debut, but you did mention that he may have sort of needed that run. But he then went to Kempton and won that grade 2, sort of confirming what looked like plenty of promise sort of thing to go forward with. He again, just from my eye, he looked like he had a bit of filling out to do last season. Has he come back physically stronger this year?
Yeah, he's a massive horse.
Hmm.
And last season he almost got away from us a bit. I think when he first came over from France, we gave him a bit of time off and really made him big and round. And I don't think he was big enough and strong. He's a massive horse, but he was only young, and I think he had too much condition to carry. And he was too exuberant, and he got it all wrong at Cheltenham. And God, it was a nightmare, and he was nowhere. And then we went to the Adonis um, soon after, and he looked like the horse we always hoped he would be.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
dropped him in stone last. We hunted him round, and Ben just brought him through, and it was all very very easy. Um, don't necessarily think it was the best Adonis in the world, but that's fine. Not fussed about that. And then obviously avoided Cheltenham and went straight to Aintree. And again, he was another victim of the horses not being right at Aintree. So you can draw a line through that. But he's come back in this season, looks $1 million, made for a fence. So he will be going novice chasing with the 4-year-old allowance. And I jolly well hope he can take some big steps forward to becoming a smart novice chaser this season.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ben. Horniker, lovely 5-year-old who finished fourth in that bumper at Cheltenham. The winner has subsequently been purchased and sent over to Willie Mullins. But your mare looks open to plenty here. There's a lot of talk about her as well, even on social media. Hoping to see her go obviously novice herding this season, Ben.
Yeah, very much so. She's an exceptional jumper.
Good.
A bit of a car crash of a season, to be honest. Between her not being ready, then the owners being away, she sort of kept finding herself shuffled back, and then she had a bit of a dirty track wash, and we found ourselves at the back end of the season, sort of saying, "Well, we'll just give her a run to nothing at Cheltenham," because she hadn't done enough throughout the season. Um, she had, sorry, got dogs trying to join in.
It's
Um,
okay.
because she hadn't done enough through the season, we found ourselves in a position where she got a bit above herself at home and was just trying to always do too much. And she got horribly keen. So the day we took her to Cheltenham, we put her on we settled her towards the back of the race. And to be honest, she was pretty on it most of the way, but Woodsy did get her to settle. And coming down the hill, I think she was still last. And somehow she cut through them like a knife through butter. And she just wasn't fit enough. Like I knew I'd had to lay off her massively just to get her to settle to get to a race. I couldn't remember the last time she'd done a piece of work before that race. Um, and so she's back in. She looks a million. She's come back in fresh as a daisy, and she's once again pretty enthusiastic. So we're training her quite a lot on her own, but she's a phenomenal jumper and a very, very talented filly. She must be to have done what she's done in that one race. Can't wait to see her out. But it'll be straight novice hurdling over 2 miles. We'll drop a stone last again and just
Fly
educate
home.
her because if we don't educate her, then if you start letting this horse, I might be wrong. She might be one that you just let her go to the front. She might settle, but I think we need to educate her from the back. She needs to learn how to race properly. She's got a big future ahead of her, and I'm very hopeful that she can become a nice mare's novice hurdler for this season.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ben. I just want to touch on a couple of newcomers, Ben, before I let you go as well. When I look through your list of horses, Ben, it takes me so long to narrow them down because I could sit here with you forever asking about each and every one. But I'm just going to fire three off quick fire.
Yeah.
Starmount, the 5-year-old by Mount Nelson, won that point to point. He looks seriously exciting. Are you going to send him hurdling this season?
Yeah, goes to Huntingdon, one of their first meetings in November. There's a 2 mile three novice hurdle there. I won it with Barter's Hill and a few other nice horses. I don't know if Willoughby went there. I don't think he did. But I do like this horse. He goes very well. He's got a great attitude, a phenomenal jump, very enthusiastic individual, but not keen. Just likes to get on with it. So
Okay.
we'll probably just let him have a bit of fun out in front. But he's at home. He seems like a very big talent. We did some really nice some really smart pieces of work in Lambourne last year. We were desperately keen to run him. We took him all the way to Wetherby, but the ground was too quick. We tried to get him into the Aintree bumper, but he got balloted out. He was a very talented individual with a big future ahead of him. So hopefully he can rock and roll over hurdles, and I would dare say he could be well above average.
Perfect. You have a lovely horse by Poet's Word. I believe Taurus Bay I think he's with Harry Redknapp. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, fantastic. He's a lovely 4-year-old though. He's a point-to-point winner at Comere as well. Um,
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
I'm
So
generally not saying this, but he looks like another potentially smart one here.
yeah, so he's owned by Harry and another gentleman, 50% each, called Jeff Hill, who is a
Perfect.
superstar. Really, really nice man, and I'm delighted they've got him together. Um, yeah, he won one of the first 4-year-old point to points in Ireland last year. I bought the winner of the race last year, a horse called You Decide, who I think will be a
Oh,
good
okay.
horse going forward.
Mm.
And this lad appealed to me. And to be honest, I think we half got him relatively good value. Don't get me wrong, it was a lot of money, 130,000 or whatever he cost. But I think Poet's Word 2 months later, suddenly there was a lot of talk about Poet's Words, and we've been very keen to buy as many of them we can. And I think this lad slipped through the net slightly. Goes very, very well. Shows loads of speed at home. Very relaxed in his work, but when you put him in work, he's got gears. He's a very good jumper, and he's just a very nice horse. So hopefully he could be another nice novice hurdler for the season ahead.
Perfect. And then finally, Ben, another really smart horse, potentially a fancy getaway, 23 length winner at Dromahan, by Getaway, who I think is the same sire as Handstands, I believe, as
Handstands.
well. Yeah, so lovely pedigree. Obviously, we've got to take sort of point to point form with a pinch of salt, but if you look at his attributes, the way he did it, again, he looks like a lovely sort to have in the yard as a newcomer.
Yeah. So she's a filly.
Apologies.
So no worries. So she I think the second horse has been out and won since from the point to point. So the form's in the book. She was an incredibly impressive performance. She arrived with us. It was really sad. She was bought by a fabulous owner of mine, in a lady called Valda in Birkos, who's very sadly passed away this summer. So she'll never set to see her run.
Sorry.
But she, Valda knew she was nearing the end, and she said, "Why not? Let's buy one nice one, and even if I don't
Fantastic.
get to see it, my family will." And so, I really hope she's fabulously lucky for Valda and the family. But yeah, she came. She arrived. She's very, very good looking filly. She's got great movement, great way of going. I've ridden her a few times myself because actually she was particularly keen and a bit headstrong when she arrived, and we all had a go trying to see if we could settle her. But to be honest, the only way we could settle her was by getting Laura Collett to do dressage on her up
Okay.
at her place, and so we did a bit of flat work, and we really slowed it up with her when she went back end of last season. The ground had gone, so there was no point running her. She'd have only run the bumper.
Hmm.
But we did some flat work, chucked her out. She's come back in a totally different filly. She's much more relaxed. Don't get me wrong, she's always going to be fairly sharp, but she's got the size, the scope. She's a brilliant jumper. I think she could be extremely well. I think she's a very, very talented filly, and I hope she's could go somewhere near the top for Valda and her connections this year. But she'll go novice hurdling.
Yeah, best of luck with the fancy getaway, Ben. Love the sentimental reasons there as well. It's definitely worth tracking her for that alone. Finally, Ben, I'm just going to ask you for one horse to follow, but I got a feeling you're going to give me Pick Rock, he's still a maiden for you, but again, it's not out of the lack of trying or anything like that. He's just bumped into one sort of each time, but he probably remains quite well handicapped off 134, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I love Pitt Rock. I always have. He'll go for the Coral Gold Cup or Trophy. What do you call it? I don't know.
You can call it the
Um,
Hennessy, the Coral
yeah,
Trophy, all
yeah. Well, I'm
sorts of
not
things
allowed to
now.
do that. I get in trouble for that.
Oh, yeah,
But
okay.
but yeah, no, he's definitely he wasn't he fell at Carlisle. He was half fit at Exeter. He was barely fit. He was very quick after at Newbury, just so we could get him ready for Cheltenham. And
Hmm.
then he never really got into Cheltenham race, and he wasn't himself up at Ayr again. Another one that didn't run that well back end of the season. He's going to be a very well handicapped horse with plenty of experience. Second season chaser. Yes, he's a maiden over fences, but I think he'll go a long way. Um, So yeah, he would be a dark horse I like. And there's any amount of novices and bad horses and all the rest of it, but hopefully we can enjoy just watching them and see how they get on as the season progresses.
Brilliant. Thank you very much once again for your time, Ben. I know we've done this nice and early, so I'm sure you're about to get out there on the gallops. But thank you so much for your time and best of luck this season.
No worries. Cheers, Joe.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll be back in with another episode real soon. If you can click like and subscribe, it helps the channel. Completely free to do so. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all real soon.